Still awaiting word from the Department of Transport. One big issue, will vouchers be acceptable instead of refunds, which was the law at the start of the outbreak at least? 8 to 10 European countries have moved in that direction, virtually contradicting the European Package Holiday Directive. Airlines and travel industry are lobbying for this change. It'll make a big difference to customers and it'll take the heat off travel agents if it's actually legally enshrined now that vouchers count as cash. But it's certainly not ideal from the consumer point of view. As we begin to get on top of changes to bookings and all the other issues which haunted us over the last 2.5 weeks, other issues are now arising. One of them is insurance. It applies to business insurance. People whose insurance policies are coming up for renewal are finding difficulty getting quotes. People who have cover for business disruption are finding it difficult to get that renewed. That's a huge issue for the inbound travel industry, hotels and restaurants. Personal travel insurance, not as big a deal as it is in England, where 31 companies have pulled out of the market, largely because of what's happening on the underwriting side. The two major underwriters who deal with the Irish market are happy to deal with the health aspect of the policy. They're standing over the policies that are already issued, and new policies will come with a COVID-19 clause, but anybody who's tied into travel insurance, very much as you are, and new people trying to get travel insurance are getting it. Inbound, the Irish Tourism Industry Confederation came out with a scenario today that the receipts from 2020 will be about 31% of what they were in 2019. That's just over €5.1 billion in 2019, down to 1.5 billion in 2020. A lot of hotels delaying the opening and may push that back even further. All our airports are now one service airports: Shannon, Cork, Belfast City, Derry, Kerry, Donegal. It's one flight a day. And Dublin still has 28, 29 flights, including some unusual ones. And while Aer Lingus still have transatlantic services to Boston, Chicago and New York JFK, you get to Birmingham, Manchester and London in England with both airlines, Gatwick and Stansted with Ryanair, Heathrow with Aer Lingus. You can get to Cologne in Germany with Ryanair. Aer Lingus have services to Berlin, Düsseldorf, Frankfurt, Hamburg and Munich, and to Lyon, Nantes and Nice in France, but not Paris. Geneva and Zurich in Switzerland. Both airlines do Amsterdam, Brussels and Lisbon. Aer Lingus have services to Heathrow from Belfast City, Cork and Shannon. Ryanair have a service to Stansted from Cork. Services from KLM, Lufthansa and Swiss are still in place, and of course we have Doha with Qatar, very important. The Asian airports that are open: Doha with Qatar, Kuala Lumpur with Malaysia, very important, and Bangkok is still open. Obviously Hong Kong and Singapore, which are important to the Irish market, as well as Dubai and Abu Dhabi, closed. In all, 18 countries have turned down transit passengers. That makes it difficult to plot any clients getting home. Best source of information is the IATA website, which is reasonably up to date, sometimes caught a little bit by the sudden change in policy, such as that which we had from Singapore and from the United Arab Emirates in the last week or so. When will it all end? Discussion yesterday with Conor Pope, I was suggesting September, October would be the new July, August. That's when people would start travelling again. That depends on everything going right. Things will only move as quickly as the slowest moving part in the chain, and there are a lot of moving parts in a package holiday. We need Spain and Portugal to recover. Portugal not in the same situation in lockdown. We still have flights from both Aer Lingus and Ryanair to Lisbon, for example, but everything needs to get moving in the area where most Irish people go on holidays. More than 2 million trips to Spain every year, about 350,000 to Portugal. The enemy in this is a stop-start recovery, or a series of waves or rebounds, as the medical professionals call it. The Asian precedent is they didn't experience the sharp V recovery that they anticipated. They were hoping it would be something like SARS. When the coronavirus started to abate, there were outbreaks elsewhere, and countries that had closed their borders and reopened them started closing them to prevent people coming in the other direction. China is a good example. Irish people prevented from going there, and they reduced the number of flights to a trickle. Mike Ryan of the World Health Organization is saying the same thing. This will come in waves. He's looking at the precedent from Ebola. He's saying about 2 years before we get cleared everywhere. The outbreak is pushing back the key booking time. Airlines, tour operators, hotels, they need things to be quiet about 4 to 6 weeks before travel date. That's really hurting now from now on, because that is imploding on our key summer booking season. September, October, good times for travel. September is a big month inbound from the United States. They're still intact. All we can do is hope for the best. But a lot of confidence will need to be pushed back into the industry very quickly. That means airlines like Ryanair, which is refunding in cash, will probably have an advantage. The voucher system may be legitimised. 8 to 10 countries in Europe are now coming round, despite the package holiday directive and despite what it says in EU 261, to saying that locally their airlines and their travel industry can now validly present vouchers as an alternative to the cash refund, which was written into law at the start of this outbreak. Our worry is America is slightly behind us in the curve. It's a big issue for inbound. It's also a big issue for outbound, because America would be one of the places that might be easier to sell in the aftermath of this. Desire to travel is not going to go away. Some things like business travel may never return to the level that they were at, and it'll be a very changed landscape when this is over. A lot of questions about working from home, travel agencies not listed as an essential service. But once you have some sort of documentation that you need to get to the office and you're unable to work from home, the reports around the country is the Gardaí are willing to accept that. The World Health Organization is holding up examples like dengue fever, that's a very, very important one, and obviously Ebola, Zika, the SARS and MERS and the H1N1 in 2009. All of them saw a recovery eventually, but one of the most important messages is that borders be kept open throughout the crisis and aircraft be kept in the air. National governments around the world have been trying to move in the other direction. It's really important that the World Health Organization is the authority saying this is the policy, we should keep it.